Language studies. One of the big hang-ups that keeps people from learning a language is that we often confuse language acquisition, getting a language to speak with someone else, and language study, learning about a language. We assume that language classes in school are meant to teach us how to acquire a language. They are really classes that study a language, which is why so few students come out speaking them. To be clear, both studying and acquiring a language is necessary for mastery, but mastery is not the goal in most school language programs. Mastery of the school language class is the goal, and that's different. In other words, the language class has to be looked at as a kind of game with rules. To do well in the class, figure out the rules and follow them. What are the rules? Memorize vocabulary. Not just what each word is in another language, but concept vocabulary like noun, subjunctive, cases. Language study is a lot like math in this way. If you don't understand the vocabulary, explanations for concepts will go over your head. Understand concepts. Because we already speak a language, we're like fish in water. We don't think much about how we describe events in the past, ask for what we want, or give a command. To understand a concept in another language, first we have to understand how we do it in our own, which may be difficult as well. In English, if we want to talk about an event in the recent past, we add the word was. I am fishing becomes I was fishing. In Italian, they do something just like that. Sto pescando, which means I am fishing, is changed to stavo pescando, which means I was fishing. Italian is the same as English in the way it adds a word and changes an ending. But it's different because the Italians generally leave out the word I, io, when they're talking about themselves. Knowing how we do things helps us better see the differences in the language we want to learn. Unusual symbols. We get so good at reading our alphabet that it never occurs to us that other languages have different ones, that Italians have no W, or that Spanish speakers have a special letter for the ñ sound. As these alphabet differences are connected to words and through words to meanings, they can be learned very well in the context of a sentence if students have a hard time memorizing lists. Deal with pronunciation. This may be the hardest thing for some people because we are biologically designed to learn the sounds of our own language at a young age, and most of us lose the ability to make certain sounds in other languages shortly after. Learning to pronounce sounds in Spanish, Arabic, or Chinese that do not exist in our native tongue will require experiments with the mouth, tongue, lips, and throat. And because these body parts are connected to very intimate biological things, we may be very uncomfortable experimenting with them. Some sounds that are necessary to make the meaning of a word in one language may feel like spitting, clearing the throat, or acting like a fool in another. There's no way to get over these issues except to bring them up, laugh about them, and begin to move forward. Good language study tools. Because language study, more than any other area, relies so much on memorization, one of the best tools for a learner is to get good at making flashcards, either physical or through a flashcard system like Anki. When used correctly, flashcards can be applied in ways that enhance our capacity to memorize long lists of things. Beyond the simple making of flashcards, memorizing is strengthened by creating meaning, associations between things to be memorized. It's a lot easier to memorize 3 interrelated things like Joan caught the ball than 3 separate things like Joan, catch, ball. The 3 words not only fit into the brain easier when they are connected, but their interrelated meanings reinforce one another by generating images and sensations. It's hard to forget the image of the caught baseball raising dust off Joan's glove with a satisfying smack. The 3 words are connected to that image and will come to mind much more quickly than when they are simply associated one by one with their foreign word equivalents. There is no single way to learn a language. The most important thing to know about language study is that there's no one way to do it. The very best way for a learner to succeed is to figure out what learning method works best for them, and that may change depending on whether you're learning vocabulary, grammar, or pronunciation. The first thing is to figure out what you're expected to learn. Sometimes that's easy. I have to know these 20 words. Sometimes it's harder. What does the subjunctive case mean? Until you're clear on what you're trying to learn, there's no way to start to solve it. Let's say it's the 20 words. Would it be better for you to make a list and walk around with it? Or would it be better to make a stack of flashcards to work through? Maybe the best way would be to write a story using the 20 words and memorize that. You have to figure out what works best for you. What about language apps? Language apps? Yes, they can be helpful. The question is whether a student is using the app as a supplement or a substitute for studying. These apps make great supplements, but poor substitutes. They are generally designed for language acquisition rather than language study, and an app's approach may not be aligned with a particular learner's strengths. Use the app as another tool. If it helps you, go for it, and if not, ditch it. Just don't expect the app to solve your language problems for you.